Run the streets, motherfucker.
Hey, what's up? This is the Dude Bros. I'm Justin.
I'm Frank.
And today we have the pleasure of giving our thoughts. What we're going to do first is we're going to do a spoiler-free thoughts and review summary of Star Wars The Last Jedi. And then after that, we're going to give a little bit of a pause so that way, you could stop watching the video if you haven't seen it. And then we're going to share our spoiler thoughts on the rest of the movie. I guess I will give it first. Okay, so ultimately, I would say that I enjoyed what I saw. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting. Rian Johnson definitely, he went in different directions in many cases. I'm not going to delve into why in this part of the video, but I actually liked that I was watching the video or the movie and that certain parts were surprising, and I was like, oh, they went in the way that I wasn't expecting. I actually found that refreshing, and ultimately I would say that I was pleased with the movie. It was ultimately a sequel that I enjoyed. I'm very excited to see what J.J. Abrams, since he's going to come back as director, is going to bring to the ninth one, and I very much am looking forward to it. Overall, I would give it a strong 7, maybe a low 8 out of 10. So yeah.
Okay, that's admirable. Now, to say that I didn't like the movie is inaccurate, because I will be more critical. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So, the problem I had is The Last Jedi was a good movie. I'll straight up say it right away. I gave it a 7 out of 10, which is a good score. But it's not a great score. And for me, the movie itself had a lot of ideas that I feel like they didn't really execute on. And they also didn't follow through on some of their other ideas. It's like going from The Force Awakens to The Last Jedi, I felt like there was a lot of answers that needed to be resolved, and they didn't really get to it. And that kind of was a little bit annoying. Again, this is without spoilers. So, I enjoyed the movie, but those few little things kind of they annoyed me and rubbed me the wrong way. So when I left the theater, when I left Force Awakens, I was just awestruck. This is a great movie. It hit on all the marks for me. And, J.J. Abrams knocked it out of the park. Whereas with Rian Johnson, it was good, but I feel like his interpretation of the same type of story that J.J. Abrams was doing wasn't quite as good. And maybe that's just because he's not as good of a director. That's how I kind of feel about it. I don't want to be too critical because, again, this is the second movie in a 3-part series. So we can't sit here and say, well, I hate this because I didn't like where it went, because it's not over yet. So any more thoughts before we get...
No. Let's what we're going to do now is, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about things that happen in the movie and reactions to them, because even though I very much like the movie, there's plenty of things I liked, but there are plenty of things that I didn't like. So yeah. We're going to do spoilers, last chance.
I'm going to put a big screen on here. You guys are going to see it. It's going to make a noise. Spoilers.
Okay, so I think what I would like to do is talk about, first the things I would like to say what I didn't like. Let's get the negative things out of the way. And I actually did make a list of several things that I didn't like. Okay. I'll get to those parts last, because I feel they're my biggest annoyances with the things. So, not enough Rey and Finn. One of the big charms I felt about the first movie was the banter and the chemistry that Rey and Finn had. Whether or not they would ultimately become lovers or just really good friends, they have a special bond that I felt was just horribly missing from this one, and it just ruined the charm of it.
They weren't even they barely were together.
They did.
They only were together basically at the end of the movie.
Yes, and also with Finn, they didn't really explore his backstory. Now, granted, a lot, and I was up till really late in the morning reading people's thoughts, because there's some mixed reaction on everything, and there's not enough Finn backstory. I thought, for a 2.5-hour movie, he's completely glossed over, and maybe that's because in the first one, they kind of established he was a guy who was trained from birth. There's not much more to go on that. However, there could have been at least even a flashback of some sort about maybe an early memory of his parents, and I felt that was just a missed opportunity. And also, further relating to Finn, Captain Phasma. Completely wasted again. And she may be dead, she may not be dead. If she's dead, they completely wasted her character of who could have been this cool. I mean, granted, Boba Fett isn't in a huge amount of the movies of the original ones, but he has enough of a presence, whereas I feel like this, she's all presence and no substance, whereas Boba Fett was presence and substance, so it's just disappointing.
It's basically Captain Phasma was not a factor.
Yeah.
Like,
she was
didn't
a
matter.
Glorified stormtrooper. That's all she was.
Yeah, her character really didn't matter to the story. It didn't give any presence, whereas, like, Boba Fett, essentially, he was the one that, you know, basically brought Han to, like, Jabba and everything. Like, his character actually had, when you saw him on screen, you're like, holy shit, it's Boba Fett. Whereas this, it's like Captain Phasma. Wow, she's just
comes in and says a few, generic rebels, scum, and then she's like gone like that. Definitely underused, especially because, the actress from Game of Thrones is just...
Gwendolyn Christie's a great actress. She's
fantastic, and it's just, she was so wasted in this, and even in the J.J. Abrams one, because it felt like J.J. Abrams was going to set her up, and then Johnson came in, and I just was like, we don't really need that. But
another criticism I'd say about this, is that I feel like Rian Johnson just kind of knocked down a lot of the ideas they had in Force Awakens, and like, I know that's going a little bit off of like your list, but like, I feel like they built some of these ideas in Force Awakens, and then Rian Johnson just kind of went in there and just like said, no, we're not doing any of these.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes and no, but like, you have to keep consistency.
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting to see what happens, because even though J.J. Abrams didn't write the script, but he was a producer, and he is very much involved in the process, and did give his thumbs up on the script that was done. So the fact that he's coming back, and I know that Rian Johnson is no longer going to write Episode 9. Colin Trevorrow was also, who directed Jurassic World and Safety Not Guaranteed, was supposed to be on, but he's no longer involved. And now J.J. Abrams is coming back. He's writing the script with Chris Terrio, who won an Oscar for Argo, but we also have to keep in mind that he wrote Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, and Justice League. So that's a little bit concerning, but at the same time, I feel J.J. Abrams and Disney, Marvel, know how to keep their movies well, whereas Warner Brothers and DC, they're seemingly having issues with the DC cinematic universe.
Right.
But we digress from that. From that, I would like to get on to a few other criticisms I had, is going back to the banter of Rey and Finn, which was missing. In this, they introduced a new character, Rose Tico, I believe her name, and the thing with her sister in the beginning and then the connection, that was actually one of the most powerful sequences I've ever seen in most movies, but let alone Star Wars universe.
Especially for a B character.
Their bond was fantastic. And I really like Rose's character, but she was so forcibly put in there to be seemingly an odd love interest to Finn. It's like they've known each other two ways, and she saves him, you save what you love, and it's like, this feels like where I'm gonna say Johnson feels like he George Lucased it with his writing and directing, to where he's just like, that'll be good, and then at the end Rey will meet Poe Dameron, and I mean, Poe Dameron's, he's sexy as fuck, so it makes perfect sense why she would be enamored, but again, It's just forced love, like with Anakin and Padme in the prequels, where it's not organic, which is why, even though Finn and Rey may not be able to be together, although the ways of the old Jedi doesn't mean they can't have kids. Too bad about like certain things, but those are like my basic criticisms. And then the main ones, which will lead to, I know, a huge one for you, is the casino scene was a complete waste, with the exception of Benicio del Toro's character, who actually was I really like the perspective that he put on the whole all sides by, it's, you'll blast them one day, they'll blast you, and it's a machine. I really like that perspective, because it's honest. It is a real criticism about war in general, and how there's good guys or bad guys. It's just a matter of the victors. Right. It was a great little thing to throw in there.
Now, the problem also with that is that they hint in this scene when they talk to Maz, the little alien chick, she basically gives this hint that they're going to go to this casino place to find the ultimate code breaker, which they basically hint and give you this Easter egg that you think it's going to be Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, but it's not.
And it's not.
And it's such a letdown.
It's kind of like, why even do that then? Why even lead us to believe you're going to put this beloved character into the plot and then just not do it? It's kind of like a troll move. Some people are like, oh, well, it's a surprise or it's different. It's like, but it's not really a surprise. It's honestly just like, you hinted towards using this character that is beloved, and you used a new character which worked, but like not in the way that you did it. You know.
I'm betting he's gonna make an appearance in Episode 9, and also Luke Skywalker. Let's get to the main criticism.
The main one, yeah.
So the two deaths in the movie utterly annoyed me. The first one is, it's a trap. Admiral Akbar just casually killed. Admiral Akbar died. It's like, it was just such a, like, he couldn't have even, like, they could have had, like, rebels board his thing and he could have went out like a badass, but they just have him blown up. And it does lead to the whole Leia using force powers, which I'll get to. That's a thing I actually liked, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, but the casual killing of Admiral Akbar was such bullshit. It was such a disservice to the character and also to the fans. And so it was the fans that we've grown to love Admiral Akbar, even though he's such a minor character. He has immense importance to us. Yeah. But then the other death, which is the thing that's getting a lot of criticisms. I rate this in a meh. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think that they should have done it a different way, but I don't hate it the way some people are. I'll let you get more into it, but the criticism is Luke Skywalker's ultimate death and seemingly lack of appearance in the movie itself. So, Frank, you touch on that.
Okay, so the problem was that basically in one of the last scenes of the movie, you have Luke Skywalker facing off against Ben Kenobi.
Ben Solo.
and or Kylo Ren, and you have them facing off. And, you know, it's actually a pretty awesome scene. You see, like, basically Luke get almost blown up by blaster fire, but he's perfectly fine. Then you see him fighting Kylo Ren and doesn't get, like, hurt. And then essentially what they have the same line that Obi-Wan Kenobi says to Darth Vader, which was like a very cool part, and you think like, okay, now he's gonna get like cut down and he's gonna turn into like a wisp and not really be like, his body's not gonna be there, right? But when when Kylo Ren goes to cut him down, he's a hologram, or he's a force, hologram, whatever. And then it's revealed that basically he's all the way back on the island still, and that he was meditating and basically sending his presence all the way there. Now, I was cool with that. I thought that was an awesome little twist. Except, that Luke is not dead because he didn't get struck down. But then everyone, like, in the whole theater gasped because they're like, oh shit, Luke's still alive. He didn't get killed. And then they kill him.
And then he dies.
And he just kind of dies anticlimactically in the sense that, like, he just basically is there. And yes, he's strained or whatever. He's, but it kind of just felt like that whole, like, twist, that him not being there was almost like a waste. It almost was, there's no point to do it like that if you were just going to kill him. Now, if you were going to keep him alive, that's why you would do that. That's literally the plot device. But then you just let him whisk away in the wind like Obi-Wan did, and now he's one with the Force, or whatever. Now he's going to be a Force ghost in the next whatever movie, possibly. I just felt like that was kind of like, it's almost like they said, oh, this is a cool idea, and then we're just going to kill him off. And I kind of, it just like, to me, it was just like, because it happened at the end of the movie and I had other issues with the movie, this like really put like a sour taste in my mouth walking out of the theater. I was leaving the theater and I wasn't smiling like I did when I watched Force Awakens. And it's not, and after, sleeping on it and I've calmed down a little bit to it and I'm not as like aggressively against it or anything, it's still, I just thought it was a very bad decision to do it like that, because it's almost like trolling the audience again. That's what, that was an issue.
Yeah. Like I said in that matter, like last night, because I did actually leave the theater with a smile, and I was actually happy about it. I didn't have, like, The Force Awakens, and I am very aware that it's a Member Berries movie. It is very similar to the first one, but I'm fine with that. I actually think that's why I enjoyed it more. I was fine with the Member Berries. In this one, I was not super annoyed with the death last night, but then after thinking about it for a while, I would say that him and Admiral Akbar's deaths were just handled in very poor ways, but it's not enough for me to dislike the movie.
You mean like Looper?
Yeah, Looper sucks. That was honestly, truthfully, why I was somewhat against Rian Johnson that's a topic for a different time. But needless to say, I was not a fan of the movie Looper, but I was a fan of this. I do feel there are some Rian Johnson tendencies to where he definitely George Lucased it to where since he's the writer and director, it could have used some better checks and balances. But what happens when it's a writer director, they arrogance takes over. I feel it's seemingly that even Disney was fine with it because clearly they've proven before if they're not fine with it, they'll just fire the directors and hire Ron Howard. Right. So, it's or they'll just do reshoots. So, ultimately, it's a good movie. I'm more excited to see what J.J. Abrams brings to 9. I want to quickly get into the things about the movie that I liked because I feel that they're important to bring up because it had a lot of good things in it. Ren ultimately early on realizing because he's consistently being taunted for wanting to be like his grandfather but not ever being able to. Kylo Ren is more powerful than Darth Vader is. Rey is more powerful than Darth Vader is, more powerful than Luke Skywalker, and likely more powerful than even Yoda. Although that was a cool thing. The inclusion of Yoda, just have to sidebar that. Was awesome. That was great.
That was one of the best parts.
He was not even fully 3D. They used puppets, so they did a lot of cool things.
Yoda was cool. Like basically, Cliff Notes version.
Yoda that was awesome.
Was in the movie and he was cool.
For Ren or Ben, whatever he wants to be, to realize he'll never be whatever and he needs to take the next step. A lot of people thought, the killing of Snoke. I know you weren't super big into the killing of Snoke.
I'm more 50-50 on that.
I liked it, and the reason I liked it is because you're never going to be as good as Vader. Well, Vader waited till the third movie to kill his leader, because he's the apprentice. Right. And he realized, Ren realized early on that he needs to kill this guy now because you know what? Fuck him. Fuck the old ways. He wants to do things these ways. He's honestly taken the next step to becoming such an evil, ruthless dude. He's still conflicted, but that makes him, I feel, even more dangerous than Vader ever was because Vader was conflicted, but it seemingly didn't click until the very end when he realized his son was dying and everything like that.
That's true. And see, my criticism of that is I liked that he killed him, but I felt that he was a wasted character. Another character that they kind of had in the other movie and built up to be this interesting character that we know nothing about, and then they kill him and we know nothing about him and he doesn't matter.
I feel like it would have been just like the Emperor Darth Sidious. He's an evil ruler that's hellbent or whatever. He has a paper-thin story anyways.
But the problem was more so that it's we didn't really... This is the first time we kind of get to see this character and he's shown to be very powerful and but
his arrogance gets the best of him.
Right. And
he's totally bitching around Kylo Ren. Oh, my faithful apprentice, not taking him seriously. And that was his downfall.
It's hard because you see this character and you see him granted he looked terrible because the CGI whatever, but you see this disfigured character.
I liked how he
looked. You see this disfigured character and you kind of just want to know who he is. You just kind of just want to know that, and we'll never get that. We may get some information in the next movie, but I doubt it. They killed him off and he's gone, and I just thought that was almost a little bit of a waste. I don't think killing his character dying was good for the plot, but I just didn't like that we didn't get to learn about his character. I thought it was a plot device that basically they used to further this movie, and it was interesting. And
it did lead to one of the coolest scenes. When Rey and Kylo Ren or Ben, were fighting, the audience was just, they were clapping, they were applauding, and what I absolutely loved is everyone was all thinking, yes, they're joining together, and I didn't clap. I smiled because I wanted to literally just shout out and go, wait for it. Because sure enough, he turns around and after he kills everyone, he's like, fuck helping people. You should join up with me and we could rule. He's not good. He's evil. He's still evil.
Sucks.
The audience was they got tricked. I loved it. The audience made the movie to me fun because of just their reactions to the movie. The audience that I went with and saw at the theater, they were just loving every minute. And I really felt that helped my enjoyment of the movie overall as well.
That was clever. I liked that. And I thought that was interesting. I thought that you couldn't really go wrong with that. But anyways, let's move on. There's a few other
topics. Real quick, Leia does a really hugging embrace of Chewbacca, which was sorely missing after Han Solo was killed in Force Awakens. I love that they did that because especially that unfortunately Carrie Fisher passed away, that there won't be more of her in the franchise. They're not going to have her in Episode 9 at all. So, I'm glad they didn't kill her off. I'm glad that they went with the way that they did for Anton Yelchin and Chekhov. They're just going to write them out. So that way, even though they're dead in real life, they could live on in the universe together, and I think that's nice. I mean, killing her, I would have been bummed if they killed her off.
I did feel like it was kind of weird though that they when they blew up the ship, and then she you thought she died, and it was cool that she used the force powers, but I kind of feel like it was an important moment for Kylo when he basically doesn't press the button. Yes, because
he doesn't do it, and I like that a lot,
and then his teammates do, and
it would have been a good opportunity to kill her, and then it wasn't his doing, because it shows the
and it would have been cool, but it was okay. It was acceptable.
It's because she died in real life. Like, if she was still alive, I would have wanted her character to die off, because then it's like a send-off, which is why ultimately I feel they ended up killing Luke.
Let's move on, because there's a few other topics we gotta get to.
Let's see, we talked about killing Snoke, the Rose and her sister, Force powers with Leia hugging Chewie. The Rey and Ben, or the Rey and Kylo Ren's connection, which was manipulated by Snoke apparently, although when you think about it, he thinks it, but I think Ren was actually manipulating him even more, as it's revealed when he cuts him down a notch. Pun intended. I really liked the connection between them, and then talking and then learning about each other. And then even more, what I loved is because, and you were even big on this, who's Rey? She's obviously a Skywalker. No, her parents are dirty water trash drug addict people that sold her off for some booze money. I love that, because it's it was paralleled.
That was
Ryan. Spoiler alert for Blade Runner if you haven't seen it. It was paralleled Ryan Gosling's character Kay, the replicant, believing the want to be something bigger, but really he's not. He's very important, but doesn't have this larger than life belief that your real parents, because
Rey wanted to
believe that she was like a Skywalker.
It was just, she was just a normal person, and that she ultimately knew who her parents were the whole time and just tried to deny it, and that was basically her biggest crutch, which she overcomes. It feels like in the movie. And it does kind of feel a little bit rushed through that. I feel that, they have, it's really honestly only one scene that they say that, and, she kind of just works through it really, really quick in that scene. But, I mean, there's a lot of movie to tell, so it's, it's not that big of a deal. I think that the connection that they had was interesting, and it was it was another type of Easter egg to try to get the audience to be like, hey audience, you know that Luke and Leia have this connection, maybe it's something to do with that.
But it's really just force power.
It is, but
they are yin and yang. I do like that the balance is going to come down to Kylo Ren and Rey. And so, it's similar to what the whole plot has been sort of thing, but maybe that and it does sort of cut down the lore and a thing that people have been expecting the Skywalkers to bring balance. But in truth, the Skywalkers have brought nothing but misery to the Force throughout their history.
Right.
When you really come down to it, they're not likely the right people to bring balance to the Force.
Well, it's also. I mean, and that's a topic for another day to discuss that. But
clearly, there's a lot to talk about on this.
So I mean, there's a few other things I would like to talk about and touch on. Personally, these are some of the other issues that I had. I thought Kylo Ren's character was his performance was great, but I honestly just thought his character just kind of isn't strong enough to carry the bad guy plot for the next movie. And that was one of the biggest issues I had with him killing Snoke. I just think Kylo Ren is not strong enough adversary, as you can see basically in the end of the movie when he's ruled by his emotions trying to kill Luke and basically lets the other guys get away when he has overwhelming odds to absolutely destroy the rest of the resistance, and instead he fucks it up. And I thought that was kind of and it's mostly, I know what it is. It's because he's young and he doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah. And basically Snoke was the brains. Kylo Ren is not the brains of the operation. He wasn't the brains. The redheaded dude is not the brains. I hate that character. I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you straight up. Yeah. I hate that character. That character is is so, he does not fit. He has literally, I just don't get it. He's not menacing. He doesn't really,
I think maybe that's what they're going for, because otherwise then you have just Grand Moff Tarkin again.
But why not make his character and be hey, he's this rich dude that basically is helping
All right,
fund
well,
the
now we're
First
just getting
Order.
into conjecture
But
of
like,
where
but
the
what
story could
what
go.
I'm just trying to say is that his character is just not developed at all, and he just is like basically this guy that we're supposed to believe everyone listens to, and I don't like that. I didn't like his character. Now, my favorite visual scene in the movie. Well, I just want to say that now because this is something that, like, in my head, the whole theater just like gasped in silence, just in how beautiful it was. So there's a scene where basically the ships are flying away, like the transport ships, and the one lady that's in the main cruiser as they're trying to escape, she basically turns it around and shoots it at the other ship, at Snoke's main ship, at light speed, basically destroying the whole First Order fleet that's there. And that scene alone, visually, and the way that it was executed, to me, was just so powerful. It was just basically this selfless act from this character that we got a little bit of info from, and like who she was, but like it was just such a powerful scene for me.
Yes.
Like, it was just such a striking blow. And I know that at first you were saying that you thought it was like kind of weird they didn't do it right away.
Yeah, the second that they start shooting at the escape pods, I'm like, why didn't she just turn and do it right away? And I was like, was I missing something? Did they do a thing where... I mean, I know she's by herself and everything, but at the same time, it just felt like she waited for, like, most of them to get shot down to then do it, when really, the second they turned the fire on it, that should have been... She was going to kill herself anyways. So, it might have just been bad editing, because the timing of it from switching to different scenes made it seem like it took her a long time to do this thing that
but
seemed
it really
like...
honestly was only like a minute. It's like...
Okay, and that makes it make more sense, but it made it feel like it was like... Just do it.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
like,
And I agree. I think that it was kind
but
of
the
edited.
scene itself was beautiful. My favorite scene was when Rey and Luke start to fight, and he like comes in and he says, "That's enough." Like when they're holding hands in the vision between her and Kylo Ren, and that he uses his force power to blow the whole building, and then the rain's pouring, and and then they fight, and it's really reminiscent to what I loved in the Force Awakens is when they do the lightsaber battle in the snow. It's so reminiscent to those old like Japanese movies where they have like the showdown in the water or in the snow is falling and they're fighting. It's just such a beautifully shot scene. Mm-hmm. That would be my favorite shot of the thing. But do we have any other topics? Because we've been kind of talking for forever.
Right, but there's a lot of things to talk about. I would say my least, let's say our least favorite scene outside of the ones that are controversial. My least favorite scene is when the casino when they had those dog horse things running away. Like that whole scene honestly was terrible.
It just was very forced and tacked on.
It was just like, and it's like,
and it didn't match the rest of the movie. It felt more like a Star Wars prequel setting that those movies that shall not be named. Yeah. Than what fits into the current universe. So yeah, I agree.
It does just. I would say that was the worst scene in the movie. There are other scenes that I didn't like or that are controversial, but those scenes weren't executed badly. Whereas this scene was just kind of like, hey, let's force another scene with Finn and Rose into the movie, and let's. I don't know what it was going for, but it honestly just made me feel like, well, that was a waste of time. I always feel in a movie when I roll my eyes at something, it's usually like it's disappointing because there's no reason to put that into a movie if I'm going to roll my eyes at it. Yeah. And that was a roll my eyes
I mean,
scene.
They likely were trying to do a social... I mean, the whole scene was a social commentary on the rich making money off of the misery of the poor people, which is why I actually liked Benicio del Toro's take on war and profits, and there's good and evil. But then the animal thing felt like maybe it was probably a message about animal rights and things of that nature, and then also a parallel of human trafficking and slavery. There's little things I do see what they're going with, but again, it just felt very forced and tacked on. It didn't need to be in the movie.
There was too many topics and too many plot lines going on in this movie, and that was one that if they would have cut that out pretty much mostly...
I would have made the casino scene stronger, because then it would have focused entirely more on... DJ, Benicio del Toro's character, and that whole business, because I felt that was a good commentary. But yeah, then the animal thing was just like, they needed a reason to have this escape thing with them running on the thing and crashing through places. That's what it really came down to.
It was just honestly, it's just, I think, like that scene itself was just kind of like, that was the point in the movie where I rolled my eyes and kind of was like, God damn it. Like, God damn it, why did you have to do that? Like, you were going so good until that scene, and then then I had just, again, it's that feeling where you're just like a little bit like annoyed or a little bit like, you know, that was my least favorite. But anyways,
ultimately, J.J. Abrams is coming back for episode 9. Maybe it'll be even more member berries, or maybe they had a whole plan in mind, and because he seemingly approved Rian Johnson's script. Maybe he knows, even seeing the final product, exactly where it's going to go. I have full faith and confidence in J.J. Abrams. He's never done a movie I've disliked. I loved how he redid the Star Wars and as well as Star Trek. So I'm excited for episode 9. The episode 8 is not perfect, but it's I still was very very pleasantly surprised with it and happy.
And you know what? Even though I have my criticisms and it's not really the movie that I was expecting, I still think you should go see it. I absolutely recommend it. I'm pretty sure you recommend it as well. It's a good movie, but make sure to set your expectations at a reasonable level and not to expect it to be an Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, truthfully, you should have already seen the movie if you're watching at this point, but if any of you people said, screw spoilers, those are our final parting words and thoughts, but I have nothing else to say on the matter. So,
anyways, if you guys liked the video, comment,
let's talk
subscribe.
about. Let us know what you thought. Was it up your alley? Were you just mad about it? Was it disappointing? We'd like to talk about this because this is a fun topic of conversation.
It's a good discussion, and hopefully, and maybe we'll talk about some of these other topics in later videos that we can go a little bit deeper into.
Disney just bought a lot of more properties, but then also announced that they're going to do another trilogy with Rian Johnson, who did this. That's not going to be related to Skywalkers. So more information that's going to come on that. Then obviously the Han Solo movie, the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, the frickin' Boba Fett movie. It's going to be a Marvel Disney lineup of Star Wars movies. There's going to probably be 20 in the next 5 years. There's going to be so many and so much more to talk about. And I feel like, hey, I'm excited for it.
How do you guys feel about it? Let us know. Thank you guys for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Peace.
Until next time.